I enjoyed being on Rogan. I think he's an interesting interviewer. There are right-wing weaponized commentators whose sole purpose is to manipulate things to the benefit of the Bannon Project or the Project 2025. Rogan's not that guy.
In fairness, he's had people on who are kind of Nazi curious.
Nazi curious. This is the kind of garbage propaganda and character assassinations they're the greatest at. You know, the entire parliament in Canada saluted a legit Nazi from World War II because they thought it was going to help prop up the Ukraine war effort and keep the money going. They brought a legit Nazi in, and they all saluted the Nazi. That's the parliament. Justin Trudeau. They gave him a standing ovation, a legit Nazi. You're upset about Joe Rogan talking to people who are Nazi wanted? What?
Jimmy, you all ready to go
Yeah.
live? All right, go live. I'm Jimmy.
Hey, Dave. Everybody, welcome to today's show. We have special guest with us. Dave Smith is here. You know him, comedian, podcaster, political commentator, known for his pointed libertarian views. Okay, so he's here with us now. Hey, how you doing, Dave?
Good. What's up, guys? Good to be back.
Oh, also, Kurt Mexican is here. Hi, Kurt. How are you?
I wore my landman outfit to talk to you, Dave Smith.
Okay. Now, Kurt, let's focus and let our guest talk more than us today, okay? Let's do that.
All right, if you think that's the way to go.
I think it is. I think it's the way to go.
I'll defer to you on that one.
Now, I wanted to commiserate with you, Dave, or talk to you because I know you endorsed Donald Trump during the election, but now, of course, and I had hope. I told people I had hope that he was going to do the things he said he was going to do. I had hope he was going to end the wars, invest the money back in America. He was going to start getting the deficit down. He was going to institute free speech. He hasn't done any of that stuff. And in fact, he's done the opposite. He's instituted new DEI for Jewish students. He's instituted new hate speech laws for Jewish students. He's he bombed Iran. He's trying to overthrow Venezuela, or he has decapitated them. He's still funding the Ukraine war. He's still funding a genocide. He's bombed Yemen, Iran. I just can't get, and then he's exploding the deficit. They never had Doge go to the Pentagon, and now he wants to give the Pentagon an extra, I don't know, $800 billion, and it's just it's the biggest betrayal I could ever imagine, and it happened so fast. It happened, and by the way, they're not letting you know about the Epstein files. And Candace Owens says that was when MAGA ended, when he called his own followers weak and stupid for wanting to ask about the Epstein files. So I just here. I just want to play this. Here's no more sending troops overseas. Bombs Iran. America first. Bails out Argentina. Only deporting criminals. Deports neighbors and legal workers. War on drugs. In a part in the Honduras guy. Will's going to cut the budget. Big beautiful. Doge will cut waste. Nothing. So it keeps going. It just keeps going. Gonna release the Epstein files. Called it a hoax. We'll investigate COVID committee. Hasn't done it. We'll investigate the January 6th committee. Not doing that. You can go down I mean, it is unbelievable almost, the amount of things that he said he was going to do and he's not doing. We're going to audit the gold in Fort Knox. So could you just tell me about your disappointment, because I know you are. And did you see this coming, and where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, if you can look past all of that stuff, he's doing a pretty good job. It's just one or two things. Well, I really never, let's try to say this the right way. I never really had hope that he was going to do any of those things. So I always, even when I supported him, I said this when I was supporting him, I know I'm going to turn on him. I know he's going to be a disappointment. I know this is going to be a disaster, because we had already seen the first 4 years. But I will say, I am surprised by how awful it's been. Like, it's gotten to the point where it does kind of seem like the guy has kind of he's had some type of break, or he's snapped, or at least he's concluded that, since he can't roll any of the shit back, he's just going to be an emperor and lean into it, it seems like to me. But I always felt like the reason why I voted for Trump in 24 was that, well, number one, I thought Kamala Harris being the president of the United States was an intolerable humiliation for any country to survive. And I really thought the value was just that it broke. It was like the last blow to the corporate media. What was that, Kurt?
It's just so funny. I haven't heard it classified that way, but I would agree. I would say, if Kamala Harris was somehow in charge of Europe, it would be dead now instead of on its way out.
Yeah, you can't come back from that. It's just too. It's like it was a step down from having a senile person in there. I thought so the whole time, dude. Now the thing is that Trump. It's not just Trump. It's the whole cast. It's the whole crew. I mean, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Tulsi Gabbard and all of them have totally betrayed everything that they were all about or supposedly all about for years and years and years. But I do think one of the things that's cool is that it was kind of after the 2024 election, the corporate media had to admit that they were defeated. And, you know, like if you remember back at like during COVID, Brian Stelter would get on TV every day and talk about the fringe Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Like they would still try to frame it as if we're the mainstream, and this guy, like me with my 300,000 viewers, is the mainstream, and this knucklehead with his 20 million views is over here on the fringe. But after 2024, they all in unison went, we need our own Joe Rogan. Like they all admitted that. So I think the best thing to come out of this is that the new media is now the decentralized internet media, and that media, I actually think what's cool is that a lot of them haven't stood for Trump's bullshit. And I think that, you know, when you said Candace said it was the Epstein cover up, I thought it was because if you remember, it was last summer. It was the 1-2 punch. It was bombing Iran and covering up the Epstein thing. And they're both obviously for the same reason. You know what I mean? Like there's, I don't know if you saw it just today in the new batch that was released, there's one document that's like, Trump has been compromised by Israel. And you're like, oh, wow, is that true? No. What's next? Are you going to tell me Barry Weiss isn't calling balls and strikes on this thing? Does she have an agenda? Like, you know, but so anyway, so I think that's cool that there has been like this big, you know, like for all the talk about how Trump's followers are like cult-like sycophants, and that's definitely true for a percentage of them, but there's a whole other huge chunk of them who are just like, nah, we're not going along with this.
Well, there's people like you, there's people like Theo Vaughn, there's people like Joe Rogan, there's people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, that are not going along with it. So it's definitely a fractured base, and he would never get elected again if he had to run right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe they would put up a dead Kamala Harris to run against him, and then he would win. But
are you excited about getting to the bottom of the 2020 election by kidnapping CIA asset Maduro?
So yes, I am excited to get to the bottom of that. So, but yeah, so you would. It's even worse than you expected. You think he's had some kind of break. Yeah. So he told, no, when they were trying to kill him, I thought that was a sign that the deep state was still allergic to him and they were still thinking they couldn't control him. But now as I look back on it, because he closed the investigation in Butler, Pennsylvania, and that guy, and now the Charlie Kirk, it's clear to me that the Trump administration was in on that in some way, or at least they're in on covering it up. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, you know, I don't know about the Charlie Kirk one. I do know, obviously, they all tried to manipulate the situation in their favor immediately. I mean, Netanyahu was out on the news like within hours of Charlie Kirk getting killed, trying to manipulate the thing. I think that, you know, like, I think they always have contingency plans, the deep state, you know, and so I think there's no question. They were trying to get him locked up. You know what I mean? Like they were trying to remove him from state ballots. They were doing what they didn't want Donald Trump to get back in. But that doesn't mean they don't have a plan B, which is that we can control him once he gets back in. And so like, I think the thing is that it would have been much better for them. Again, this is why I supported Trump ultimately. It would have been much better for them if they could have gotten Kamala Harris over the finish line, because then it would have been like Donald Trump winning is symbolic of something. It's symbolic.
The mask falling off.
Well, yeah, but it's a lot of people want to vote for a candidate who says there's a bunch of criminals in Washington, D.C. We want to drain the swamp. We're furious at them. They don't like that. You know, like in the same way that they don't like Bernie Sanders. It's not anything about any one of Bernie Sanders' policies. It's just like when Bernie Sanders running, he's going like the big banks and the millionaires and the billionaires and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, the system is run by big banks and billionaires. They don't really like hearing that so much. And so like but then again, that doesn't mean that once you get in there, they don't have a plan B. And you know, the plan in his first term was to frame him for being a Russian spy, right, and bog him down for 3 years with that. And it seems like the plan this time was, I don't know, to get him scared that something was going to happen to him. And you know, they had Miriam Adelson financing his whole campaign. So here we are. But he's made his decision. Look, we're probably going to be bombing Iran again within the next couple weeks.
Fingers crossed. We stand with you. We stand with you. Wait, so first of all, just because they have factions within the deep state doesn't mean any faction is on your side. They both have to serve under the shadow government. The deep state is just the administrative part of it. Right. So, of course, they're going to have a white square and black square, so to speak, where But at the end of the day, they're all part of the same class of people, right? Trump's like Marjorie Taylor Greene said, it could hurt my friends. Which friends?
I mean, so Dave, do you think so? We recently showed a video of Scott Bessent, and Trump was at Davos, and he said, yeah, I can help young people buy houses right now, but I'm not, because it would lower the value of current homes if we made homes more affordable, and then the people with the equity in their homes, the people who are retiring, would lose some of that equity. And so I'm going to keep it I'm going to keep it the way it is, and so nobody can afford a house right now. And then Scott Bessent was talking to somebody, and he said, we don't want to hurt the mom and pops, like maybe your mom and dad, they bought 8, 10, or 12 houses for their retirement, and we don't want to hurt the mom and pop. He literally said that. And so, a lot of people talk about this, you need to have a class analysis. This isn't a left-right issue. This is a us against them issue. And so would you agree with that? And we need a class analysis, or I don't know how libertarians view it.
Sure. Well, look, I look at it like this. So for so long, right, in like political debates, there'd be almost like, say, like a debate between like a socialist type and then a more like capitalist type. And the debate would be, broadly speaking, we've all seen like a million of these. The debate would broadly be like, should we have a free market system? And the capitalist guy would argue that's what creates wealth and makes everybody wealthy. And then the socialist would go like, but the rich have so much and the poor have so little, so we need to redistribute some of that wealth from the rich to the poor, broadly speaking, right? That's the debate. But the reality is that we live in a system that is the biggest redistributive system ever created, that redistributes wealth from the working class and the poor to the wealthy. So it's like totally indefensible from any analysis. And so like, it's
not feudalism, not from a feudalism.
Yeah, I mean, right. No, feudalism was more reasonable, dude. The feudalism had
four-class system.
Yeah, like, I mean, so this is, I mean, Donald Trump, of course, he's just like, Donald Trump has never read a book about anything in his life, and so when he says something,
Kabbalah.
He thinks he's really well, maybe one. He thinks he's really like smart when he goes, well, if we make houses more affordable, that would mean house values go down. It's like, yeah, that's what that means. But so if we're in a position, you're going, okay, so there's a government policy here. Which one? By the way, if we had a free market system, everybody agrees that housing prices would collapse. These are totally artificially bid up. If you actually had a free market, there's no reason why, like a house, the intrinsic value of a house in 1985, let's say my house was built in the 90s, right? So in the 90s, my house had 4 bedrooms in it. It could house a family. Today, the exact same thing. It is of the exact same value. There's no reason why it should be 7 times as expensive today as it was back then. It's just because we have fiat currency. We devalue our currency. The Fed buys mortgage-backed securities. It's a whole goddamn system that props this thing up. But so we're propping up. Trump is telling you right there that we don't want to mess with the wealth of the homeowners. We want to mess with the wealth of the 25-year-old who's already 6 figures in debt and works at DoorDash and is looking around at homes that cost $800,000 and going, how am I ever possibly going to get into one of those?
You know why?
But by the way, let me just say, Kurt, and this is another thing. This is what lefties got to wake up to, too. Look, leave Medicaid aside. Medicare and Social Security are the exact same things, dude. They're giant wealth transfer programs that transfer wealth from a poorer group to a wealthier group. Now, what, even like to a lefty, who can justify that? Why the hell should we be giving a group that's wealthier welfare?
Well, number one, the houses are supposed to be a consumer good. They're not supposed to be an investment. That's artificial scarcity that they created.
Right.
So that's how we got to that. Like, you're supposed to just be able to buy it per need, and so they're artificially inflating it. But you see the genius of Trump. I know people think he didn't read a book, but no. When we get to Generation Alpha, like your kids, dude, or I don't know what your kids are. They alpha or something now, but they're going to expect
my
nothing.
Kids are pretty alpha.
Yeah, they're going to expect nothing and like it. They're going to be them new kind of WEF people. They're not going to, they know the system's fake. So we just have to occupy the millennials and the Zoomers with complaining about how they got screwed over by the boomers. and all that identity shit and nothing else, and just focus on that. And as long as we can delay, by the time we get to alpha, they don't expect shit. And now we have a reset like we promised. And we can have a freedom city instead of a 15-minute city. And we're going to have a nice techno state then. By that time, we'll have gotten rid of the artisan class of the 4-class system, because AI is supposed to take over all those jobs, and it'll just be the administrators and the cattle.
So let me ask you, Dave, we can't vote our way out of this. No matter who you vote for, you get John McCain. What really, honestly, I've completely soured on electoral politics. It's not, especially since this last election. It's just, there's no way it's going to work. And even if Bernie Sanders would have won, I have a big feeling he would have been almost exactly the same. So what do we do?
I think I agree. I don't think we can vote our way out of this. At this point, I think it's more likely that we could not vote our way out of this. Like, even when you just if you say like your audience and Tucker's audience and Candace's audience and, Nick Fuentes' audience and my audience, and like, if all of the dissidents were just like, yo, we're not voting anymore. We're like, we're so furious at this administration that we're not showing up for JD Vance. That'd be a big deal. That actually, I think, is like more potential to disrupt the system. But I don't know. I'm kind of like an old school Ron Paul guy. Like, I think that governments rely on propaganda. This is why all governments use it. It's like they know what they're doing with it. And I think that we have a shot. I think like what we are all doing is essentially like attacking that propaganda apparatus. And it's more fractured than ever. And so I think that, no, I don't think looking to DC to solve our problems is probably ever going to work. But I do think that like, it gives us some real possibilities to avoid that future that Kurt's talking about when, like the entire country has woken up so much in the last couple years that to the point that, like, think about it like this, right? Even if, let's say the Charlie Kirk, there's no deeper story to it than what, the official story is. It was this guy who was boyfriends with a furry or
That's
whatever.
What I say. A furry did it.
A furry did it. So let's say that's the story. Okay, everyone still blamed it on Israel. You know what I mean? Like, so like, how could they even launch a false flag attack at this point? Everybody's just going to think it's a false flag attack. And so like, I don't know, there is just like a new kind of dynamic that we live in that I am optimistic about.
Okay,
or what Kurt said will happen.
Well,
they're going to buy both sides like they always do. We already got the UpScrolled story coming.
So
Larry Ellison bought most of it. Then you're going to get the wokey remnants. They're going to be like, this is free speech. And then they're going to have the experts tell you about their genders and all that shit. You're never getting out of the dialectic. Don't ever think that. Politically, they will never let you do that.
Okay, so let me move on. Let's talk about so I love this, right? So countries attacked by bombing, sabotage, or attempted government overthrow since World War II. Iran, so that's all we do. That's all the United States does. And then Bill Maher tweeted out a video of himself from his own show. And he says if Trump somehow gets Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran all to fall, he should get a Nobel Peace Prize. Let's listen.
We've seen these demonstrations in Iran before, but this was bigger and more people have died. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe more people have died because he said he was going to help. This looks like a Bay of Pigs to me.
So what he's doing there is he's advocating for Donald Trump to get involved to protect the lives of quote unquote protesters in Iran. He does not understand anything about what he's talking about because those protesters were infiltrated by Mossad. They had Starlink machines. They were given ammunition and guns and rifles, and that was a Mossad. They were bragging about it on social media, just like all Zionists. They can't help but brag about their crimes, and they were doing it. So this was, and by the way, if there was anything to them being real protests, it was because the United States did a sanction job on them in December, which crashed their economy and devalued their dollar. And that's why people would be out there, because we're doing warfare, which is economic warfare, which is illegal under UN Charter and international law. And we did that so we could collapse their economy, which we did it. And so anyway, he doesn't know anything about what he's talking. Just so you let you know, he's advocating boots on the ground in Iran to protect the Mossad fake protesters in Iran.
Yeah.
I just
He's
want
been told.
I
He
just want-
has dinner with Netanyahu on the regular. I know. I have friends that work for him. He's been told to say that like all these other shitheads.
So his jumping off point is complete propaganda, Zionist propaganda. But let's listen to the rest of it.
This looks like America's going to come and help you. Where is it? Remember the Kurds in '91 when they thought they were going to get help from America? Vietnam could make the same claim. I mean, a lot of people have felt let down by us. I thought Trump was different. Where are you on this? Because all these bodies that I see, these body bags in Iran, I think a lot of those people went in the streets because they thought, oh, he said he's got our back this time. Where's the help?
Well, the generals have told us that short of sending in a massive number of troops, it will be another Iraq.
Well, then what did he mean when he said?
I don't know, but if you look at it from a larger, perspective, because of Israel, this is one person's opinion. Because of Israel and President Trump's backing of Israel, the Middle East is safer than it has been in 20 years.
Absolutely.
Hamas is on its knees, Hezbollah is on its knees.
I gave him credit for that.
Iran
Yes.
no longer looks invincible.
I mean, and they all agree on this.
For 2 years.
Wait. It hasn't been what in 20 years? What did he say?
He said it hasn't been this safe in 20 years.
The Middle East.
Thank you. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, all right. So let's say a few things here. All right. Like, number one, isn't it just like, what a perverse way to look at things where he goes, Donald Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize if he topples these three governments.
Well, let me play.
That's what wins you a Nobel Peace Prize.
Let me play that part for, and then I'll have you respond.
And you know,
Sorry.
and you know who is applauding us every step of the way, not out loud, but the Arab countries.
Look,
Every one of them.
If Venezuela causes Cuba to fall, if he somehow gets Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran all to be not these horrible places they were, he should get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, there it is. Go ahead, Dave.
No, so just like a few things here. Number one, when he says, you know, who's thanking us privately, all the Arab countries, aka the governments of the sock puppet states that we prop up over there. The government of the genocidal government of Saudi Arabia quietly tells us that this is what they like, right? The guys who committed the genocide in Yemen, the same as Israel committed in Gaza, they are on board, or Jordan or Egypt or something like that. But like, that doesn't mean, you know what the people of those countries think about Israel? They're 100% opposed to him. So it's not like, you know, the way they use that term countries. But then even like to the Bill Maher thing, it's like, look, there is a little bit of a point to what he's saying. Like, it is true that Donald Trump is telling these protesters that he's got their back. Now, to your point, look, it was at front page of the Jerusalem Post that the Mossad was bragging about being involved in the street protest. So now I'm sure there's some protesters in there as well, but sure, Trump shouldn't be telling them that he's got their back, or like in some way creating some type of moral hazard where like they think we're coming to back them up. But like, to Bill Maher's point, he used as one of the examples George H.W. Bush in Iraq, and this is true, right? After the Persian Gulf War in the early 90s, he basically told the Kurds and the Shiites to rise up and overthrow Saddam, and we'll have your back. And then he bailed at the last minute, and Saddam slaughtered a whole bunch of them. So we totally did betray those people, but okay, it was the wrong thing to do to tell them to rise up, but it was actually the right thing to do to not go through with the regime change, because we know what happened when we went through with the regime change decades later, and it led to a civil war where 1 million people got killed. And so it's like, Bill Maher, like, when you say have their back, that's vague. What are you suggesting here? We send in the 82nd Airborne and occupy the country and overthrow the Ayatollah and the mullahs, and then what? That's the same goddamn quagmire that we've been in 7 of these countries. And so like, now look, it might be possible that we're able to overthrow the government without that type of military occupation. We were able to do that in Libya and Syria, but look what happened there. An absolute catastrophe both times. So Libya's had, as you know, Jimmy, you've covered this for years. They've had open air slave markets. It's been a failed state since 2009. And in Syria, we handed the place over to Al-Qaeda, and they've been running around and killing people ever since.
Maybe we could ask them to help. And by the way, to be fair, have you ever been to a closed air slave market? It's a lot sadder, dude.
It's a lot smellier, that's for sure.
Yes, I was trying to be discreet.
No, it's all ridiculous, man. It's like, it's such like a boomer way of looking at the world that it's like they never even like they never even ask themselves the obvious follow-up question. Just like, even when they said, when they said, had those Israeli leaders, they were taking pictures with the Shah's kid, because that's now we have to make the world safe for hereditary monarchy. And
that was always the goal.
That was always what we were spreading around. But like the idea that the fucking this government in Iran, and like, I don't know, you see these, there were some big protests, then there were big marches in support of the regime.
Of course.
But this government in Iran has been there since 1979.
Thank you, Morning Micah's father, as her big new.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah. Well, that's but he's but so they took power in 79. They've held on to power ever since. Most of that time with the most powerful governments in the world being hell-bent on overthrowing this regime. And this regime is held on the whole time. And so when people in the corporate media tell you how weak the regime is and how it's about to fall, it's like, I mean, maybe, but I don't really think so. Especially when those people telling you that have a track record of being wrong about absolutely everything.
Well, Nepal, they kind of did, because that was to get at China and whatever. But I think Nepal, the government was that bad that it did. See, it can work if you've already got the anger at the government to that level. They're lying about how much anger there is at their government. There's way more towards our government than they have to. There's a bunch of Jews living happily in Iran that don't like Israel. I found out from Ari Shafir, of all people.
Yeah. I've actually talked to Ari about that very topic before. But look, also, this is one of the things they always manipulate. Like they did the same thing in Iraq, and this is where Chalabi convinced all the neocons that, like, no, listen, dude. Chalabi, if you don't know, was like the Iraqi in exile who convinced the neocons like that this plan would work. And they would point to the fact that there's a lot of people who don't like Saddam Hussein, right? And that's totally true. Saddam Hussein was a Sunni in the Ba'athist Party, sitting on like 20% Sunni country. It's like 60% Shiite, and and then like I think Kurds and some others, but I might be wrong on the Sunni numbers. But it's super majority Shiite. Mm-hmm. So obviously a lot of those people fucking hate him, right? But that doesn't mean they're going to be Jefferson Republicans when they get into power. And in fact, when they got into power, when we put them into power, the first thing they wanted to do was crush those Sunnis who had been oppressing them all that time. And this is why the big civil war broke out. And so like the idea that even if there are a lot of people, like if you could imagine, right, like there are a lot of, say, Trump supporters hated Joe Biden. But that doesn't mean that if China invaded and tried to overthrow the Biden administration, they're on Team China now.
Right.
They pick up guns and start shooting at the Chinese because that's a foreigner. And all you got to do is speak to anyone who's Iranian, who's not like a paid propagandist. They hate us for very specific reasons. And they're pretty good reasons. And one of, in that list of attacks that the U.S. has done that you had there, of course, there are some missing there. And one of them that was in there was the 1953 overthrowing of Mossadegh and installing the Shah. But in 1980, a year after this regime rose up, Saddam Hussein invaded the country with chemical weapons that we facilitated selling to him. We gave him the green light. He killed 500,000 of them in the most vicious fucking way. And they know that. They remember that. Now, some of you guys might remember the Iran-Contra scandal. Reagan also sold weapons to Iran in the middle of that war. But for the most part, we were back in Saddam's brutal government when they did the most brutal thing they've ever done.
Just want to make them both weak.
Yeah. Well, that was it. They called it the dual. Well, they later called it the dual containment strategy.
That's what they do to us. They do the dual containment strategy to us. That's what the stupid parties are.
And by the way, so this was after the first war in Iraq, when they launched the dual containment strategy on behalf of a country in the Middle East. You'll never guess which one.
Qatar.
Those goddamn Qataris always buying off our media and our government,
giving Trump a plane and then betraying us.
Yes. So in order to help Israel, we wanted to keep both of their regional adversaries weak and down, but we needed, in order to do that, to keep our military bases in Saudi Arabia. And that became the rallying cry for Al-Qaeda and bin Laden. That was his number one recruiting shtick, is that there's a foreign military occupation in our Holy Land. It was like his number one grievance in everything he ever wrote. And so it's all, the whole thing's a web of just a mess. And it does, after a while, it makes you realize like how brilliant the founding fathers were. Because like all these quotes that you could find back then, not just the founding fathers, but like the first generations of like American, ruling elite, where John Quincy Adams quotes about looking for monsters to destroy will make you the dictatress of the world, but you'll lose your own soul. And it's like, and George Washington's farewell address, where he's like, look, just don't get entangled with other countries, because there's all types of things that pop off like that. Like it might seem like the nice thing to do for England to give Poland a war guarantee. But now Germany invades Poland, and oh shit, now instead of just having a little war, we got a world war that comes out of it. Like
almost like it's on purpose.
Yeah. Well, they do make a whole lot of money off these things. And so like all these things, like, but it's crazy that after 25 years of the global war on terrorism, that someone like Bill Maher is even able to get in front of a camera and go, topple it, topple the government. And not even have to immediately address, okay, but what is your plan for the next day? Nah, not even a thought.
He's being paid as a shill. He's being directly given marching orders from Netanyahu, just like when Tim Pool had his Chatham House rules. And by the way, Chatham House, the Bilderberg of its day, that should be a big tell that it was real bad to even say something like that. So all of them are going to deliver the message, and we're going to have the Noahide techno state no matter what.
Let me get, we only have 20 minutes left with our guest, so let me get to it. I want to pick his brain on how he feels about ICE and what's been going on. So we've all seen this video of this ICE agent.
What? I will tell you this. You raise your voice, I raise your voice. If I raise my voice, you'll erase my... Exactly, yeah. Are you serious? You said if I raise my voice, you'll erase my voice? Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that doesn't sound like people protecting liberty or serving and protecting. And the fact that he has an accent because he's from Puerto Rico is hilarious. That he's saying
pretty hilarious. It is something about it. Look, say what you will about America today, but our Nazis are more diverse than ever before.
Yeah.
And
yes.
We really do deserve credit.
Did he remind you of the Puerto Rican rattlesnake, Louis J. Gomez did?
A little, dude, Louis, if he hadn't gone into comedy, this was the job for
Louis.
Louis.
Would be a violent ICE agent? Testing out his MMA.
So now here's let me show you one more video and of a ICE cop just being a Nazi.
It's not illegal to record.
So they're legally recording the police activity of the ICE. And then the ICE guy comes over.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
So he went over, took a picture of her license plate and said, we have a database and now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So this is the kind of stuff that ICE is, and they're stopping regular citizens, asking them for their papers, all the stuff that we equate with literal Nazis. They're literally doing, and I don't think this is really to fight illegal immigration at all. But I think it's to cover for all the stuff that they're not doing. They're not releasing the Epstein files. They're bringing in SB1 workers to take your jobs away. They're not going to the farms, the meat packing places, the hotels. They're not really getting rid of the people taking your job. They're just making big shows of force in public,
exactly right.
in blue cities to try to piss people off and try to get the left and right fighting each other. So we get distracted from them not doing all those things that they said they were going to do. Meanwhile, they're also going to start a war in Iran, Venezuela, and who else knows, and they're still funding. So that's what I think this is really about. But I wanted to get your take on this. I know you had a take on this. Here's what Tim Pool said about this.
First of all, when these people come out and go, Tim's a bootlicker for defending us, I'm like, no, you misunderstand. It's my boots. It's mine. I voted for them. I'm wearing the boot. I'm stomping on the ground.
Okay, so Joshua Reed Eccles said, this mindset is genuinely pathetic. It's an alpha fantasy, watching state violence and imagining you're exercising power rather than the one submitting to it. In no reality is a lawless state you. It is not accountable to you. It is coercive by nature and indiscriminate in its application. The moment Tim Pool stops being useful, if he becomes a critic instead of a sycophant, decides to abuse has gone too far, or is simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, that same boot ends up on his neck. It's a power fantasy for weak men that they cosplay as rulers while applauding their own subjugation. Do you have a response to that? I know you're a libertarian Second Amendment guy. What's your response to that?
Well, I mean, yeah. Look, I thought that was very cringy, and there really is something to the fact that it's like it's one of the worst impulses people get, and it's almost like I guess maybe the left-wing version of it is like feeling like you're a noble person because you advocate for universal health care or something like that. Like when you
well, that's kind of noble compared to the DEI thing.
No. I'm just saying, like, it's almost like the person who doesn't even have a job, isn't paying taxes, but just says, I want universal health care. It's like, okay, but like, you could also like go volunteer down at like a soup kitchen or something like that. Like, rather than just, anyway.
Will that heal my cancer?
Okay, Kurt, let him finish. We don't have much time.
I think right-wingers get into this thing where it's like, they almost become like an 8-year-old boy playing with action figures, and when something explodes they get to go, yeah, that's me, I was doing that. But like, you didn't do anything, man. You're just sitting there talking about this the same way we are. And to your broader point about the ICE thing, this is the thing I've been really trying to hit like all week to like make people understand, because people will talk about it as if mass deportations are happening. But that's just not the case. And it's over. It was a year ago Donald Trump walked away from mass deportations. And why is it, Jimmy? What did he specifically say? Hospitality and farming. Translation, big business likes the cheap labor. And so Donald Trump is not standing up to big business. He doesn't stand up to them on anything else. Why would he on this? If you really wanted to like, and look, there's a fair argument to say, hey, look, Joe Biden let in like 10 million illegal immigrants that the people did not decide we wanted. And we have a right to decide who can come here and who can't come here. But then what would you do? You would go after the giant hotel chains. You would go after the giant corporate farmers. Like you would. So now there's something like 200,000 at most illegal immigrants in Minnesota, and they're sending in like 3,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents to go. So again, basically you've got a huge theatrical show of performative cruelty to not change demographics at all. Nothing's, and by the way, I saw Tucker's last show, and he was doing a whole thing about like how inorganic some of these protests are and how violent some of the riots are there. And like, I think that's all true also. Like a lot of things are going on at the same time, but also these ICE guys are like, these are actually guys who failed out of the police academy.
Yes.
That's like who most of these ICE guys are.
Yes.
And they're going around and you can see that. You can smell it all over them. And like, listen, like, it is illegal. You know, like all the right wingers will say, it's the law. We have to be a nation of laws. Like you can't come here illegally because that's against the law. It's like, okay, fair enough. But the law is also the Constitution of the United States of America. The law is also that you can go film law enforcement agents in public. You can carry a gun legally wherever you want to. You can say whatever you want. You can refuse to answer questions. And so these guys are just going around just straight up, and they're like they're like masked. And it's not like even with local police, as many problems as we have with them, if you go to a local police officer and you say name and badge, they'll tell you their name and badge. If you say, I want to speak to a supervisor, they have to phone in to their supervisor. Whereas like with these ICE guys, they're not even identifying themselves. People are straight up like, yo, I don't know if that's ICE or Border Patrol or what. There's some guys in an unmarked SUV with their faces covered screaming that you're a domestic terrorist if you talk back to them. So that, to me, that's just indefensible.
So let me just show you this. So it is, the flip on a lot of right-wing media personalities has been kind of mind-blowing to me. What is his name? Matt Walsh? Is that his name? Yeah, Matt Walsh is one of them. And Tim Pool seems to be doing it, which is kind of shocking to me. John Marshall, this is from January of 21. Armed protest is intentional menace and threat, should be illegal, the precise opposite of civic life. Protest expresses opinions, advocates, demands. Armed protest is a threat of violence. So I don't know if he was talking about Kyle Rittenhouse or the guys going to the state capitals with their long guns during lockdowns, but everybody on the right defended that because guess what? It's your right. And Tim even said it's literally the First and Second Amendment. It is. It's literally. So I was on the same page as Tim, but now he says this because it's people who they deem to be on the left exercising their freedom of speech and the Second Amendment. He says this.
These liberals who all of a sudden are libertarians and all of a sudden love 2A. and the Lolberts. I love the Lolberts. You know why I love libertarians so much? Because whenever a fight breaks out, they fold like cheap suits. So I don't have to worry about them at all. These libertarians come out and they're like, look, I'm concerned about immigration, but I don't think the government should be allowed. And I'm like, bro, by all means, scream into the wind. Because if anything actually has to happen, you're going to stand there with our arms crossed while we do the jobs that need to be done. But what I love
Israel,
so much
for Israel, we love Israel. The Tim Pool Show.
So what is he? First of all, so he's calling out libertarians, and you're a libertarian, so maybe you could defend libertarians here. But what does he mean by that? You aren't going to stand there with your arms crossed when the fight but they're going to step. What is he talking about?
Yeah, I don't get any of it. It doesn't make any sense. And like the idea too that somehow it's like. It's like when people say, if you're, I know you've probably gotten this over the years, Jimmy, because you've just been consistently anti-war on a big platform, or people kind of almost go you're too much of a pussy, or something like that. And you're like, dude, it doesn't take any more courage to be for a war from your living room than it does to oppose a war from your living room. Like, I could understand if like a soldier was arguing that or something, maybe you could kind of get it. But like, just like, Tim, what fight are you in? What are you talking about? No, if I wanted to, the me capitulating would be me just going along with this and going, yeah, we have to deport people or something like that. It's like, yes, you can count on libertarians to oppose government thugs going in and killing American citizens and creating a violent, situation, escalating violent situations for absolutely no benefit. So yeah, we're going to talk about that. I don't think that's like a big dig on the libertarians. And like the thing that kind of annoys me about any right winger or Republican or anyone like that, who's sitting here and saying, oh, it's these lolberts, they're never ready for a fight. Like, dude, Ron Paul, which is who all of our godfather is. There's no libertarian who doesn't just like admire the shit out of Ron Paul. Ron Paul was the guy in the Republican Party saying, don't fight the war in Iraq. Don't pass the Patriot Act. Don't keep printing all of this money. Don't bail out the big banks. Basically everything that they would all admit now was right. Jack Pacifica just put out a mini documentary about the war in Iraq. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
And he gets it. He gets it. It only took him 20 years.
Yeah, that's right, dude. But honestly, like the video could have been made by Scott Horton. It could have been made by Jimmy Dore. It was excellent, 20 years later. But then they'll turn around and use the exact same excuses for whatever the next conflict is. So it's like, I don't know, dude. Like, from my perspective, I'm like, hey, how many times in a row do we have to be right before you stop just like disregarding us as like clowns? By the way, like, where was the Republican Party when COVID first broke out? All supporting lockdowns, all supporting the vaccine, all supporting mask mandates, all of them. Where were the libertarians? Oh yeah, we were the ones telling you not to do all of that stuff. So it's like, no matter how many and then the one thing they try to hold us to is they go, you were screaming that it was going to be a catastrophe last summer, but the 12-day war was so easy. And you're like, well, yeah, dude, but that's only round one. And we're right back in the same situation. So like, I don't know. They've got such a bad track record on everything.
Dave, you're going to forget.
They should be dismissing us.
They know that most of the people, they're called NPCs, and the kids call them NPCs, the normies, they're going to forget the thing that just happened. And you sound like a schizo right now, Dave. You sound schizo. So yeah.
So I just want to play a little bit more of this because it's just stunning to me how they've flipped on the Second Amendment. Now the Second Amendment isn't about fighting tyranny.
About this especially is that these people who are saying, I thought you were for the Second Amendment, Tim. I thought you. I was never in favor of the right to keep and bear arms, to go and obstruct duly appointed law enforcement officials from a duly elected government because you disagreed with the policy position everybody else voted for. The idea that you were like, don't I have a right to go fight a cop with a gun? No, you don't.
Okay, so that's what's called a straw man. That's not what happened. He has to invent a straw man.
But also, Jimmy, it's just still, even within the straw man, like, first off, you don't have the right to go fight anybody with or without a gun. You can't just go attack anybody.
Right.
But hey, guess what? If you go fight a cop with a gun, which obviously you're pointing out is not what happened, it's not what we saw in the video, but let's say if you go fight a cop with a gun and then 6 of those cops get you down to the ground and disarm you, they don't have a right to put 9 bullets in you.
I agree.
It doesn't matter what you did before that. That's the job of being a police officer. Dude, if you murdered 1,000 people and then the cops get you and throw you on the ground and disarm you, they don't have a right to put 9 bullets in you. It doesn't even matter what you've done previous to that. This is the United States of America, and you get a lawyer in, literally the state will provide you a lawyer in a suit and a tie, and you stand before a judge in a robe, and you get 12 members of your peers to judge you on that. That's the way this works. So it has nothing, like, it's all just so goddamn misleading. And of course, as you said, that's not even the situation. All we know right now, and Tim recorded this before the second video came out, but all we know right now is that he got in a tussle with law enforcement 11 days earlier and kicked out a taillight. And then we have the video that we have, which seems completely indefensible. Now, I don't know, with these videos, maybe more information will come out and he was being kind of violent before that happened. But again, like I said, it doesn't matter, dude. That was a bad shooting no matter how you look at it. He had been disarmed already. He was on the ground.
I look at it as an Israeli.
He didn't go to
they were trained by the Israelis.
He didn't go to the protest and brandish a weapon at the cops.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why everybody is trying to, and they're like, you don't get to interfere with police activity. Oh, okay. First of all, you do get to film them. You do, and you do get to carry a gun to protest. You get to, those are, so they're like, yeah, but that's stupid of him to do that. And it's like, yeah, well, I guess you can have a constitutional Second Amendment right until you try to exercise it. And then you're stupid if you exercise your Second Amendment right. If you try to use so you do have a First Amendment right to record the police, but once you do it, you're stupid. And now you're
but also it's just not, who cares? Like, it's just totally irrelevant, you know? It's totally irrelevant whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. It's like, I don't know, dude, like, it might be a bad idea to go to a bar, but if you go to a bar and get murdered there, that guy's criminally responsible, not you. Like, it doesn't really matter. So, like, yeah, if you were just having a conversation with me, if one of you guys were going to this protest and you were asking me, should I bring a gun to it? I'd probably go, yeah, dude, don't do that. You know what I mean? But that has nothing to do with it. We're talking about the legality of what happened here, or the morality of what happened. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, like, it's just, and you know, one of the things that and the left-wingers do mess up on this a lot, because they do this thing where, like, it'll be like after Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin, or again with this Preddy guy, they always have to go to, like, he was an angel, he was a gentle giant, he was a man of Jesus.
They're on the same team.
But then when a video of Michael Brown's strong-armed robbing a bodega comes out, you're like, oh, well, that tears apart your whole thing. But that never mattered to begin with. The question is, where was he when he got killed?
Right.
Was he a threat to the cop?
It's an op to provoke
violence?
civil war.
Yes.
It's an operation to provoke more violence and civil war, because, as you mentioned at the outset, people are waking up to something's way off here. So what do we do with all that angry energy?
Yeah.
We create problems on purpose to trigger more violent events. That's why Tim Pool, for the last 3 years, my friend's civil war, my friend's blah, 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 civil war. Every other word out of this toupee beanie wearing motherfucker's mouth is that, because he's friends with Bilbo Not a Jew Who, just like Bill Maher. They're all using talking points. We already know from the Nick Sartor videos, they're doing Squid Games bounties, like scumbags like Jeremy from the Corner. They're all trying to get money. People don't believe anything they're saying, except for you and me and maybe Jimmy. And I think Rogan believes what he says. I think Theo is trying.
Yeah.
But a bunch of people are paid. People like Dave Rubin, who I don't believe was ever a comic, because you and me have been there. We never saw him. Those guys are being paid. They want the good life. They will say anything that looks like the side that's winning. And that's why you get these David Brock switching back and forth people, because they have no principles of any kind. And that's your rulers. Everybody else here to argues, is it dumb to show up to the mass cop thing and blah? Yo, your rulers don't give a shit. You're a pawn for them.
All right, we gotta wrap it up. I just want to just point to this, so everybody so he's again when it was right wingers doing it, but now it's bend yourself in a pretzel time. And he did it. But listen, Dave, we got to go. We have another guest coming on, and so I want to say thank you for making time for us. And
absolutely, man.
And it's always
my
good.
Special boy, Dave. I'm very proud of.
And I hope to talk to you again soon. Thanks for making time, pal.
Absolutely. Thanks, fellas. Let's do it again.
Okay,
hey, brother.
Let's take a break, and we'll be right back.
All right, bye, guys.
Okay. Hey, Sam Altman recently announced that ChatGPT can now reference all your past conversations. Did you know that? Do you feel comfortable knowing an AI platform has access to all your thoughts, streams, sensitive questions, business ideas, etc.? What are they going to do with it? Introducing Venice AI. Venice AI lets you use AI without handing over your sensitive information. Venice utilizes leading open source AI models to deliver text, code, and image generation to your web browser. There's no downloads, no installations of anything. They don't spy on you or censor the AI. Messages are encrypted and your conversation history stored only in your browser. AI can be extremely valuable, but we shouldn't need to give up your privacy to use it. Their Pro plan unlocks the full platform and features including PDF uploads for summaries or insights, the ability to turn off safe mode for unhindered image generation, and the ability to change how Venice interacts with you by modifying the system prompt, limitless text, and high image limits. It will generate images Grok won't allow me to generate. Here's an example. Ready? Hey, please generate an image of a baby getting vaccinated. And there it is. They did it. There it is. So that Grok won't do that. So if you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or the government, you can get 20% off a Pro plan using my link, venice.ai/Jimmy. And the code is Jimmy.
Jimmy Dore, you're live.
Hey, welcome back to the Jimmy Dore Show. We have special guests with us, Jeffrey Sachs, economist, academic, public policy analyst, and former director of the Earth Institute at Columbia University, where he holds the title of university professor. He is the president of the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network and served as the special advisor to UN Secretaries General Annan, Ban Ki-moon, and Antonio Guterres. He has also authored and edited numerous books, including multiple New York Times bestsellers. Welcome back to the show, Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Great to see you.
Thanks a lot. Good to be with you. Thank you.
So, I know we only have a short time with you, 30 minutes. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, but you said COVID was a big thing for me. I covered it extensively. I got censored for telling the truth about COVID by YouTube and other places. I had hit pieces written about me and all that stuff. And I know you headed the Lancet group, so study group on COVID. And you figured out that COVID actually didn't come from pangolins or a Chinese wet market, that it actually was engineered in a lab. Now, everybody thought that that lab was in Wuhan, but you found out it was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Is that true?
That's what I think is the most likely explanation for this virus. And I think that it has been covered up by the United States government, of course. That seems to be the only business of the United States, is to tell lies and to actually never pursue a real investigation. But my feeling is that this was a U.S. Research project, quote unquote, that went completely awry, and that we have not seen a serious investigation, of course, by the U.S. government of what actually happened. So it's very convenient for them to say, yeah, China did it. But the odd part, Jimmy, is that in 2018 and 2019, the US government was funding the kinds of experiments exactly that would produce such a virus just at this time. And there is now a long record of this that came out not because anyone investigated it, not because anyone told the truth, but because of Freedom of Information Act releases forced by the courts or by leaks of people that were inside the government. And some pretty basic things have been leaked. But most importantly, the research project that was underway to create artificial viruses, basically. I think they had this scheme. There is a full hypothesis that has been put forward by an investigator who's been on his own, but I think has done a wonderful job, named Jim Haslam. And he tracked each of the grants, each of the studies, each of the NIH-supported efforts, and he came up with a very plausible, the most plausible account of what happened, and that is that a virus was created by a leading U.S. science group and then sent to China for testing in a colony of Chinese bats in Wuhan. But the virus was created in the United States, but this research center is in Wuhan, and it's the only place that has the particular colony of bats that the researchers needed to test their virus. So this seems to me to be the best account of what's happened. But of course, it's a complete wall in the U.S. government to have any honesty about this whatsoever.
So aren't you? So now that we know for sure that Dr. Fauci lied about funding gain of function, he lied to Congress twice, at least the ones that I can count. That when he was asked if he was funding gain of function, and he said no, and of course now we know that that's a lie. Even the NIH admitted that they were doing it. So, and now we also know that it didn't come from a wet market or a pangolin, that it came from funding that he used from research that he funded. And
That's
so
correct.
the whole pandemic was literally caused by Dr. Fauci, who then lied about it. Now we know for sure he lied about it. We know for sure where it came from. Why do you think A, he's not being prosecuted? And B, why do you think nobody cares? No, those people still treat Dr. Fauci like he's a saint and Donald Trump is a demon because of COVID, even though Donald Trump went along with the whole thing and did Operation Warp Speed, and Dr. Fauci was the one lying about it.
Well, because the U.S. government does not want to investigate itself. Can you imagine if it was really established through the actual presentation of systematic evidence that the United States was the reason for this worldwide pandemic? This is, if it is the case, and as I say, it's likely but not certain, but if it is the case, and I think it is the case, the world would discover something absolutely shocking. This isn't about Fauci. This is about the United States government funding extraordinarily dangerous research, having a disaster of untold proportions, millions and millions of people dying, covering it up. And then you and I are asking, are they going to admit this, investigate themselves? No. This is absolutely not something where they're interested in Fauci or anybody else. Now, the fact of the matter is, a lot of what needs to be known is known inside the CIA. This is typical. The CIA has investigated this. They have all sorts of reasons to follow the line of thought that I've been discussing, because it's a pretty powerful bit of evidence. And the U.S. cover-up is absolutely clear. It's not just Dr. Fauci lying, which he did. It's the fact that on February 1st, 2020, a group of virologists on a call with Fauci, said that they thought that the evidence was that this was likely created by a lab, and that same group, the same group, 3 days later, produced the first draft of the paper that said it's unequivocally from nature. That can't happen. Honestly, that is a cover-up in play. That mere fact shows that a very influential paper that was the main document that the US government used to deflect this charge for years, a paper called Proximal Origins of SARS-CoV-2, published in Nature Medicine, a major medical journal, was a fraud. And I think that this is absolutely the case, because we now have, as a result of the hard work of investigative reporters, a clear timeline that the same authors went from most likely lab leak to unequivocally natural in 3 days.
So yeah, we know it's because Fauci promised them he gave them grants for research, millions of dollars in grants. I'm pretty sure I saw that.
That's correct.
Yeah. So, are you? I'm angry still. I'm not. I keep waiting for me to get over it. I'm not going to get over it. First of all, because I got vaccine injured, and I don't know what all the injuries are going to be because it takes 10 years. So people think COVID's over. We're in the middle of a vaccine experiment that took place with millions and millions of people, and we're right in the middle of it. It's not over. We're at year 5 of a 10-year experiment. So we're going to find out more side effects or bad, horrible, toxic things that are coming from it. But I'm still angry about it, but no one else seems to be. And are you upset about it? Would you like to see some kind of prosecutions around this? Because they lied about everything. They lied about masks and lockdowns. There's no science behind any of it. They lied about herd immunity. They lied about natural immunity, and they lied about where the virus actually originated from. They lied about the vaccine stopping transmission. They lied about it stopping contraction, which was the basis for mandates. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their jobs. 41% of all Black-owned businesses shuttered permanently because of the lockdown. There seems to be no a will in anywhere on the left or the right to try to get some kind of prosecutions going. And would you like to see that?
Yeah, I'm personally less interested in the prosecutions than I am at this moment in simply having the evidence. I have said, and others have said, that this was created at University of North Carolina. We do not have the lab records to confirm or to deny that. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This is a pandemic that took millions of lives. This is not complicated to look at this lab record, and there are other labs that are implicated in this. Rocky Mountain Laboratory, for example, which is an NIH laboratory, according to this hypothesis, was very much involved in the preparation and the first round of testing of this artificial virus. The reason being that Rocky Mountain Laboratory in Montana has a colony of bats that was used for testing, but the colony of bats are Egyptian fruit bats, not the Rhinophilus sinicus bats, which is the target of interest of the research program, which is in Wuhan. So what I'm saying, Jimmy, is that there is not even a complicated list of things that should be checked. But our government is so fundamentally dishonest down to the core that nothing is done properly. Everything is hidden from view. And am I mad? I'm sad, I have to tell you, that we can't put one foot in front of the other in an adult, honest way in this country about anything right now, because it seems to be the job of the federal government to lie at every single step of any issue. And this one's an important issue, and it's not even complicated to know what to look for. In fact, many of us have said it. I published an article many years ago saying, here's the list of things to look for. You can't get it done. This is not hard, but you can't get it done. And why can't you get it done? Because they don't want to do it. And because Congress is, we do, by the way, we have a very fine very fine senator, Rand Paul, who has been after this, and he's very talented, very smart, very assiduous, but he can't break the wall either, even as a U.S. senator that is trying to get to the bottom of this. And the rest of the Senate is brain dead, as we know. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to look at anything. They don't want to exercise any constitutional responsibilities that they have, whether it's for war and peace, or whether it's for tariffs, or whether it's for finding out whether the U.S. government happened to create a deadly artificial virus. They don't even try anymore. So this is our situation, which is that we have an out-of-control executive branch, an out-of-control intelligence community, and basically nothing that we're told is true or straightforwardly true, because the whole idea is keep us in the dark about anything, about Venezuela, about Iran, about COVID. This is, we're not even there for a spectator sport. We're not supposed to watch except Donald Trump's social media.
So I agree with everything you said. So if I just vote for Democrats, then it'll all get better, right? And of course we know that's not true.
Yes.
It just keeps getting worse. Every administration gets worse. Barack Obama was not a departure from George Bush. He was a continuation of George Bush.
That's correct.
He took us from 2 wars to 7. He made sure the bankers got their bonuses while he kicked 5 million families out of their houses. He gave us a right-wing giveaway healthcare plan to the big pharma and big health insurance companies. He did Libya. He expanded the war in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
He dropped more bombs than George W. Bush. He did a drone program that killed 90% innocent people. And then we go to Joe Biden. He's funding a genocide. He's forcing people out of their jobs for not taking a mandated vaccine that wasn't a vaccine. It just never stops, right? And they're censoring all over the place. So what is this? Is there a solution to this? I guess I don't have a solution. That's why I'm looking to you.
Look, all I know is
we can't vote our way out, right?
All I've said for the last 25 years is this one's the worst. And then comes the next one. Oh my God, this one's the worst. Oh my God, this one's the worst. I've lost every smidgen of partisanship, Democrat, Republican. This is ridiculous. This has nothing to do with our reality right now. I thought Biden was pathetic, terrible, of course, probably non-compos mentis for the last couple of years of his administration also. This one's actually worse, by the way. We're completely out of control right now. So, but it is not about Democrats and Republicans. You can't, it's the partisan game. It's us or them. I mean, I'm hoping, by the way, that, of course, that the Democrats win one or both houses of Congress in November, not because I favor the Democrats, but because I think we have an executive branch completely out of control. And do we have a Senate and House of Representatives? Not the way we're going right now. They don't even try to get at anything. They don't even try to hold on to their constitutional responsibilities.
The problem, the problem is, don't you think that if the Democrats, let's say they do win the House, they agree with Donald Trump's position in Gaza. They agree with Donald Trump bombing Venezuela or taking over or bombing Iran. They agree with him. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say that I'm hoping maybe on just a purely mindless partisan basis that they say, no, you don't have the right to do that. Because what's really going on right now in the United States is one person rule. All Trump does every day on his whims or his viciousness or whatever it is, he declares some emergency. And that's literally what the decree says. By the power invested in me as President of the United States and under the International Economic Emergency Act, I declare an emergency. And then he does something completely whimsical, frivolous, destructive, whatever it is. And Congress doesn't budge, doesn't do anything. And this is very, very alarming. But the COVID story is the same thing. There's no accountability at all in Washington and no will to investigate itself. It's a long story, by the way. The last time the CIA was investigated was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. That was the Church Committee. That was an accident. They'll never let that happen again. So that's how it is right now. No accountability.
So let's talk about Iran. You wrote this. It said it is high time that the world's nations face up to America's rogue economic behavior. The lawlessness is illegal recklessness, harmful, destabilizing, and ultimately ineffective in achieving America's own goals, much less global objectives. So what you're talking about is the weaponization of the dollar, the sanctions, and then right the next day after you had written that, Scott Bessent, the Secretary of Treasury, said this, which is kind of mind-boggling, and it didn't get much press, but let's play it.
What do you want to say about sanctions, something else you've been working on, of course? What are you planning there in terms of Iran and the impact there? Do sanctions actually work? And the same question with regard to 500% secondary sanctions or tariffs on countries who purchase energy products from Russia.
Okay, so two things there. There are Treasury sanctions. And if you look at a speech that I gave at the Economic Club of New York last March, I said that I believe the Iranian currency was on the verge of collapse, that if I were an Iranian citizen, I would take my money out. President Trump ordered Treasury and our OFAC division, Office of Foreign Asset Control, to put maximum pressure on Iran, and it's worked. Because in December, their economy collapsed. We saw a major bank go under. The central bank has started to print money. There is a dollar shortage. They are not able to get imports. And this is why the people took to the street. So this is economic statecraft. No shots fired. And things are moving in a very positive way here.
So, yeah, I mean, of course...
You can't make this up, huh?
Of course, sanctions work. So does carpet bombing work. You know, it works. It kills off the powerless. That's what sanctions do.
And it's moving in a very positive way. You know, the thing, Jimmy, about this, Bessent laid out exactly. It was U.S. maximum pressure that crushed the economy, crushed the currency, brought people to the streets, and it's moving in a very positive way. Okay, we call it a regime change operation. This is, for those who watch, rather typical. But do you think that the New York Times, the Washington Post, has mentioned this little remark of Mr. Bessent one time? No. So all we hear is, look at the terrible mismanagement and corruption of the Iranian regime and how people are protesting. And we have to help the protesters. They don't hear the United States created economic chaos, and that brought people to the streets so that we can justify a military intervention in Iran. That's the true story. And Bessent said it. But in our world right now, you can say it out loud, and it means nothing. No one says, oh, did you hear what Bessent, I do, and you do, but no one else says, oh, did you hear what Bessent just said? He said, we're responsible for people bringing the people out on the streets. We're responsible for the currency collapsing. And he said, and it's moving in a very positive way. Does anybody, where's a congressman, head of a committee, head of foreign relations committee? anybody take notice? I tried, by the way, I wrote to the reporters on the New York Times that are running these stories every day about Iran. I said, maybe it would be interesting for you to mention Mr. Bessent's remarks. And I actually sent them the transcript. There were 4 reporters on the story. Do you think I heard back from, and they each have their contact name in the New York Times article. So it's an invitation to write. Did I hear back from even one of them? One adult response? No, of course not. Did they ever mention this? Of course not. This is exactly why you can't get Ralph Barrett investigated. Did you cause the pandemic? Show us your lab files. Nothing is accountable right now. And at the end of that little remark, you almost have it on the screen. There's a smirk of Bessent. He represses it after it's a fleeting smirk, but it's so vulgar that he's just delighted.
So what
is
he's admitting
positive direction.
He's admitting right there that our government policy is illegal under international law. It's illegal under UN Charter.
And gross.
And it's right. And it's collective punishment. And because when you devalue a country's currency and crash their economy, then people lose their retirements, people lose health care, people lose everything.
Yes.
And so that's what they're doing to Iran to try to. And what is the obsession with Iran? Because here's John Pilger. He's talking about every American president is obsessed. Let's listen.
U.S. obsession with Iran goes back to the fall of the Shah of Persia, who was one of the main pillars of U.S. so-called foreign policy in the Middle East. And when that came down in 1979, the U.S. has never really recovered its sense, its equilibrium, if you like, its power in the Middle East. It wants Iran back. If not back, it wants to deny Iran the independence of the Iranian state. Now, why Trump in particular is obsessed with this, I don't know. But why shouldn't he be? He's an American president. He's doing what American presidents always do. The fact that he's Trump then causes apoplexy in the media and the intelligence agencies and so on, for the very good reason that he's exposed America without a mask. America and the presidency without a mask is Trump. He's a caricature, and he does what he wants to do.
So I think he's acting at the behest of Miriam Adelson and Benjamin Netanyahu and his Zionist lobby that has a stranglehold on this administration, as well as and the Congress too. What do you think the obsession is with Iran? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this has been a project from 1996 onward, when Netanyahu came to power in Israel, to overthrow the Iranian government. So that's longstanding. It's been quite explicit. And in this sense, that's correct. What Pilger's saying is also correct, is that it actually goes even before that to 1979, but it even goes before that, of course, to 1953,
right,
when the CIA and MI6, Britain's CIA, overthrew the Iranian government in 1953. You could say, so what's the bottom line of this? It's oil and it's power. In its current variant, the idea of the US government is that Israel should be the regional hegemon. Israel, with its 8 million people or 10 million people, should rule over the Middle East as the one nuclear power, as the country that can go in and kick the shit out of anyone else, whether it's Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Iran, Sudan, Somalia, Libya. This is part of the way that this is being implemented right now. So the immediate framing is Israel needs its regional hegemony. The U.S. backs Israel on this. Israel says, go to war with Iran. Yes, Mr. Netanyahu will go to war with Iran. The broader picture is, I think, what Pilger is saying, that this is, in some sense, a general part of American hegemony. which is whether it's through Israel or some other way, the United States demands control over the Middle East and Western Asia. And Iran is not under America's thumb. It's a 90 million people and a civilization that is roughly, well, maybe 20 times America's age, at least 10 times. It goes back thousands of years, and it actually doesn't want to be run by Mr. Trump. So this is a long-standing story, but it is core to the U.S. military-industrial complex strategy, and the variant of that in the last 30 years is Israeli regional hegemony.
Now, you also wrote about when we do this kind of stuff, when we sanction Iran, when we sanction Russia, when we try to sanction any country doing business with Iran or any country doing business with Cuba, as he's just proposed today, that these sanctions are actually bad for the United States dollar, because that's what props up our dollar, is that it's the reserve currency of the world. You said, while the U.S. sanctions work in the short run to create misery, the incessant use is rapidly encouraging other economies to decouple from the U.S. financial stranglehold. And I think, so what's going to happen? Well, here's, now I don't agree with this guy on many things, but Peter Schiff said this recently, and I wanted to get your reaction.
And the world is now pulling the rug out from under the U.S. The dollar is going to collapse. The dollar is going to be replaced by gold. Central banks are buying gold to back up their currencies. They're getting rid of dollars. They're getting rid of treasuries. We are headed for an economic crisis, again, that will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. The biggest difference between the crisis that we're about to have and the one we had back then is this one is all in America. It's not going to be exported to the rest of the world. It's not a global financial crisis. It's an American financial crisis.
So, do you agree that the dollar going to spiral and lose its power is due to our sanctioning and people wanting to go off using the United States dollar as the reserve currency? And what do you have to say to what he just said?
Well, what I would say with some reasonable confidence is that 10 years from now, the role of the dollar will be much, much less than it is today. And that can happen two ways. One is that it is a kind of a gradual decay, because step by step, year by year, the Chinese currency, other currencies become cornerstones of international trade and payments. The second is that there's some decisive moment of a collapse, which seems to be what he's saying. I'm less confident about the second than I am about the first. If you ask me, is the U.S. Undermining and ultimately destroying the global key role of the dollar? I think the answer is yes, with a very high assurance. If you ask me, is it going to be a collapse and a hyperinflation and so forth? I doubt it. Just to say, things like the 2008 financial crisis come about not because of the underlying policy mistakes. Mainly, they come about because of some incredibly stupid policy move, a moment of stupidity. And in 2008, it's when the U.S. Treasury Secretary at the time, Hank Paulson, decided one weekend to bankrupt Lehman Brothers abruptly. The country, we had a economic difficulty because the whole mortgage-backed securities market was, unregulated, corrupted, and it got out of hand, of course, during the Bush Jr. period, and it was already leading to bailouts and a lot of Bear Stearns and other companies going bad. So there was already an economic crisis, you could say. But what turned it into a catastrophe was a moment of stupidity, I have to say, where the mismanagement by the government provoked an absolute immediate crisis. I don't know whether that's going to happen with the dollar, but what will happen with the dollar is that either it'll be killed by 1,000 cuts, or some unbelievable stupidity will come. One or the other. 10 years from now, the U.S. is not going to have the key currency of the world in the way that it has had in the past 60 years.
Okay, well, I appreciate you making time for us, and I'm going to go buy some gold. I don't know what you're doing. But
I'm going to go have a cup of coffee.
Okay.
To tell you the truth, the whole thing is so sickening to watch this theater moment by moment. I'm just going to go catch a deep breath, but I really enjoyed being with you.
Okay, really appreciate you making time. Jeffrey Sachs, thank you very much, brother.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, over to Steph.
All right. Thank you so much, Jimmy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for showing up today. What a show. Come on. Started with Dave Smith, Kurt Metzger, and Jeffrey Sachs. Fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Boom. Since the political landscape is upside down these days, it's time to bring back friend of the show, Hillary supporter, CP. Erica Kirk is Hillary Clinton 2.0. She came, she saw, he died.
Yep.
Icky, icky. Dave Smith was the catalyst that injected liberty in my psyche during the campaign for the 2016 Fret Pound. Thank you, Fret Pound. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy, so I don't comply. Vienticus. So it's so awful. Germany is repatriating its gold from the Fed back to Germany. That's pretty bad. What? Huh? Savage? Does Dave have any solutions to these problems? Alpha? I don't know. I don't remember. You should remind your audience, Jimmy, how bad friend of the show Scott Besson is, running an equity firm back then with $5 billion capitalization down to $500 million under his leadership. Wow, CP. Thank you, CP. Okay. Yes. Babalu for governor, Butch War for governor of California, 55 electoral votes, the most powerful state in the country. This is one hope to hold onto and support. Listen, Babalu. Yeah, I think so. What do you think? He didn't care today. Yeah, so we'll just keep it this way. A car crashed in Chabad Lubavitch headquarters in Crown City, New York. I believe this is the same place the tunnels were located. Savage. Vienticus, thank you. Anyone who says, are you serious or are you crazy after receiving a threat is a moron. Rorschach. Bruce Springsteen's streets of Minneapolis is debatably more responsible for Nazism in America than ICE. Nikki Pretzels. DARPA made the internet and YouTube is CIA subsidiary. Andrew. Tim isn't the boot. He's the strap-on. Tiberius. Oh, boy. What's this one? Jimmy, Candace, Tucker, and Dave need to start their own TPUSA. Everyone will support it. I think we would go a different direction than that. But thank you, Healing. MAGA and all of them are just as much commies as they claim the other guys to be, Vienticus. You know how to tell if the police are Zionists when they cite code as the law of the land, not the Constitution. They think if something is written in U.S. code, it is moral and just. Code of Hammurabi. Savage. Nobody asks why the ones over Somali draws. It's DRAUS, but ICE wouldn't investigate. FBI would. Small dock problems. I'm not sure what that. I tried. To defend yourself against tyrannical government, that's what Space Orbison mentioned. Kung Fu, Straw Dog. Love Kerp, he's almost always right. CP. I know Dave, but have you ever been to Minneapolis, Tiberius.
Oh, I forgot to play that.
Oh,
my God. I forgot to play that. Oh, my God. I'm trying to think of too much.
On January 19, 2021, the Donald awarded Fauci a presidential commendation for his exceptional efforts on Operation Warp Speed. The Donald and Fauci are friends, not enemies. Long Meadow.
You've never been.
Zax, thank you, Moniker. Savage, why are we all still in the why hasn't anyone gone to jail yet? Heads should roll. The U.S. government is a criminal enterprise. That's why. It doesn't matter what new SM app that comes out. If it isn't cooperatively owned by the community, then it's doomed to crumble. One owner, one choke point. Roger. It's not that Alex Preddy was in the right or wrong. It's that the jury of his peers was denied the choice. The ICE agents were judged, jury, and executioner. Treason against the People's Court. Tiberius.
Pretty clear. It's pretty clear. There's a lot of people bending themselves in pretzels to try to make that shooting the guy's fault. Pretty. They're trying, you shouldn't bring a gun there if you're going to get it. You got it's just like that. You don't, no matter what that guy did, you don't get to disarm him and then shoot him in the back 9 times.
Jimmy, he was very hostile to the ICE.
Still don't get, that's okay.
Jimmy, those people are sworn to uphold justice, and he was interfering with the justice.
The penalty for interfering with a police action is not death. It's not 9 bullets in the back. That's not the penalty for that. I'm going to guess it's probably a misdemeanor.
You know what? His tone was aggressive.
Yeah.
His behavior was abrasive, to say the least. And he was a troublemaker on the streets. And they had shown evidence of that earlier, where he kicked the light out.
Yeah, I know. Again, none of this matters. None of it matters.
I mean,
none of it matters.
You're saying like ICE was doing something illegal.
None of it none of this matters.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you see what's happening here. Jimmy and I have differing points of views. He thinks that that guy, Alex, had he should have been tried. He shouldn't have been shot and killed and murdered in public. And turns out murder's not good on the streets, folks, no matter who's doing it. Hey, do you remember that vaping lung scare thing just before COVID? Early research? NG. Oh, that's right. Skibby. Thank you, Skibby. I could be wrong, but it seems like these ICE operations are taking place in states that don't already have stand your ground laws. I'm not saying it would change anything, just something interesting, Nathan. Thank you, Nathan. Yes, Jimmy will be back, ladies and gentlemen. A super lineup today, and do not ever let anybody tell you not to pause your videos. I'm only watching your show for your take. Mary, look at you, Mary. Tonight, ACP wants you to come and meet them before the Jimmy Dore live show in West Hollywood at Barney's Beanery. ACP will be there full 2 hours prior to Jimmy's show. Let's end the duopoly. We also welcome debate. Well, look at you, Max. That is super cool. Hold on. I'm going to give you the gong. Bam. Thank you, Max. All right. AA community were attacked because of this funded pandemic. F you. All right. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see here. Let me see if I have something new. Let's see. Happy Friday, everyone. That's from a train. Happy Friday.
Did it with Bill Maher.
All right, let's see here.
And then I'll just do
Henna Lady, love right back. All right, let me see what I have here. I just want to make sure if I'm not missing anything from Rockfin. Okay, we are good. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing, Jimmy?
I'm ready.
All right, back to Jim.
So everybody's excited about the UpScrolled. So TikTok is completely state media run by Israel or Zionists. And so there's this new thing by these Palestine, this guy who lives in Australia, but he's Palestinian. And he quit his job working for big tech because he felt like he was contributing to the evil, because all big tech is involved in the genocide in Gaza. They're all, from Microsoft to Apple to Google. They're all involved, right? It doesn't matter. So this is the guy. Listen to the founder. This is the founder of UpScrolled. He's going to talk about why he created this. So here you go.
Out there, then we're not going to be able to make it too far. I mean, it's great to go out in the street and protest. It's great to gather and talk and share and all that. But if we don't become independent, digitally speaking, with platforms, with products, and then help one another to grow these platforms, we will not be able to get far. And the reason for this, all these big tech, all these politicians talk money, they talk power, talk about control. And we're helping them by using these other platforms. We're profiting them. We're generating money for them. We're making them more powerful every day.
He's saying, so whenever we use Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, we're helping the powerful. That's what he's saying.
That we're by using or scrolling on TikTok or Instagram. I said, let's create a platform. So I dedicated myself building the platform last year. We've launched UpScrolled about a couple of months ago. To those who doesn't know UpScrolled, it's a social media platform similar to Instagram, similar to X, and very soon similar to TikTok. Tens and tens of thousands joining the platform monthly. I've been surprised, to be honest with you, when we launched the platform. The second day, we're starting to see hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, 20, 30. We know people are looking for an alternative. They're sick and tired of being shadow banned. They understand the pain of posting and not having their content or voice being reached on other platforms. So this is basically what UpScrolled is.
So there it is. UpScrolled is for people who are sick and tired of having the establishment control your speech. That's according to the guy who's developing it. But this guy who worked on it, Paul Bigger, watch your mouth. He's the founder of Tech for Palestine, and I guess he worked on this. And he tweeted out, "Look, it's the top. This new app, UpScrolled, was the #1 top of the charts of an app being." So everybody is hungering for a platform to give us free speech. That's what this is all about. UpScrolled, right? They're not going to shadow ban you. They're not going to. What? Well, let's listen.
So one of the differences between UpScrolled and between the big tech platforms like Meta and TikTok is that the big tech platforms are really there to protect the powerful from you seeing what goes on in the world. So they'll shut down videos about ICE coming into your communities or about Israel's genocide in Gaza. UpScrolled allows you to show what you see.
Well, that's great. Everybody's on board for that. I'm on board for that. Kurt's on board for that. I'm sure everybody's on board for UpScrolled allowing us to show whatever we see. Okay, here we go.
You can show what's going on in the world. We don't do shadow bans, and we don't limit political speech. Shadow bans are what big tech does to hide people who are talking.
So they don't do shadow bans? They don't do censorship. Isn't that nice?
About uncomfortable political situations. They just put you in the corner talking to yourself and your friends of the same topic, and they just limit your reach so that other people can't see what you say.
So that's what all the platforms do. They shadow ban you. They put you in a corner so it limits your reach. Freedom of speech, not freedom of reach. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. But wait, hang on to your...
But at the same time, Meta and X are actually really bad for users. They build platforms that are designed to keep you engaged and addicted, and then they don't limit the harms that come from the information on their systems.
Wait, so it sounds like he's starting to say another thing here, Kurt. It sounds like he started out saying the bad thing about all those Facebooks, Instagrams, TikTok is they shadow ban you and they limit your reach and they don't let you get your word out and they censor you. But now he's saying that they also, the bad thing about them is that they don't protect you from other people's speech. That's what let me back it up. And I'm pretty sure they don't limit the harms.
And then they don't limit the harms that come from the information on their systems.
Then they don't limit the harms that come from the information on their systems. I'm starting to get a little, my palms are starting to sweat a little that this might not be what it's made out to be. Let's listen a little bit more.
That's how Meta enabled the Rohingya genocide in Myanmar, and that's how X turned into a vitriol shithole.
So he's saying that Facebook enabled the genocide. No, that was no. He said Meta. That's how Meta enabled the Rohingya genocide in Myanmar.
In Myanmar, and that's how X turned into a vitriolic shithole.
He's saying because they're not protecting people from the harm of speech. But I thought the whole point of this was free speech. and that everybody's a grown-up and everybody gets to decide what speech they want to listen to and what they don't want to listen to. And when you censor someone, you're also censoring my ability to hear that person. Not only are you censoring their ability to speak, you're censoring my ability to hear them. So you're doing two bads at once. And it seems he's saying that Meta did not do enough censoring. That's what he's saying. They're just, in other words, Meta should have did more censoring because they didn't do enough censoring. They enabled a genocide in Myanmar. Really? Okay. So he seems to be saying two totally different things. Let's keep going.
UpScrolled protects users.
UpScrolled, it protects the users.
So that you can have a good, authentic experience without harm.
So they're going to protect you. They're going to be like your dad. If your dad was controlling your social media, you're like, nope, you can't look at that. You can look at this. And who's going to decide? Somebody at UpScroll will decide what's going to be harmful to you and what's not. They're going to, somehow they're tough enough. Their censors or their media people over at UpScrolled, they have the mental toughness to read all the bad stuff, and it doesn't affect them, but they know you're weak, and so it will affect you. So they're going to censor it from you. They're going to protect you from harm. So, because they have the mental toughness to read everything, but you don't. You're a weakling, and so they have to protect you from ideas because it might hurt your brain. That's what he's saying right now. UpScrolled is going to protect their users, aka censor people. We're going to censor other people. That's how you protect users. Okay, here we go.
Means that we don't allow certain things on the platform. We don't allow you to spread disinformation.
We don't allow you to spread disinformation. According to who? You know, I'm sure that was the same guy who was saying if you said ivermectin was a human medicine, he would have said that was disinformation. If you would have said that the vaccine didn't stop transmission or contraction, he would have said that was if you would have said the virus was created in a lab and not in a wet, he would have said that. If you would have said masks don't work, he would have said that.
Climate change is fake and a scam.
If you don't get to debate climate change because that's misinformation. You don't get to debate anything. Because if they say it's disinformation, what? So what in the hell makes you different? So, well, let's keep going.
Bully, to harass, or have
you don't get to bully, harass, or have hate speech. Let me tell you something.
Oh, I hate that.
Hate speech is speech, and the fact that you hate it is why it needs protection. You don't need protection for speech that everybody likes. You need protection for speech that some people hate. And if you hate that speech, that's why you have the First Amendment. Okay, here we go.
Speech. We also don't allow explicit nudity or copyright infringement. Now, UpScrolled is barely 6 months old, and until recently, it had a part-time moderator. And then we blew up. So obviously, we're beefing that up. The other thing we're doing is
we're beefing up our moderation, meaning we're beefing up our censorship.
Oh, good. I can't wait for these blob Reddit nerds that from Ireland. God knows what that's going to be.
Here we go.
A trust and safety board. A trust and safety board.
They're building a trust and safety board. Again, I already have one. It's called the Constitution of the United States. It's called the First Amendment. And if someone breaks the First Amendment, I don't need a social media platform to go in and police them because we have actual police. We have police and sheriffs. We have attorney generals. We have district attorneys. We have all kinds of law enforcement. And if someone goes in there and does something illegal with their speech, they're going to handle it. Here we go.
Thing that big tech used to have. Meta had a trust and safety board that it never really listened to. And X actually shut down its trust and safety board when Elon Musk came in. Our trust and safety board is going to be there to protect users. We're building it with civil rights experts, digital rights experts, and people with experts in harm to marginalized communities.
We already have experts that already wrote the rules and regulations. It's called the Founding Fathers of America, and it's called the First Amendment. We already have the rules. We already have the guardrails. We already have everything. You don't have to invent new rules. We already have these rules, which have served us very well for 200 years. They've served us very. You don't need to do this. I don't get this. Here we go.
the Trust and Safety Board will have real power at UpScrolled, enabling it to create policies and dictate how those policies are actually enforced.
So what he's basically saying, the people at Twitter don't censor enough. The people at Meta don't censor enough. This is what he's saying.
They didn't listen to their moderators.
They didn't listen to their they didn't listen to their censorship board. That's what he said.
The CIA, no, they did listen to him, actually. Actually, that punk Zuckerberg pathetically blathered about it to Rogan when he went on.
Yeah, he admitted.
They told us we had to hide the Hunter Biden and the vaccine.
I don't know what the hell's going on with this UpScrolled, but this seems like the exact we're all free speech, except we're going to be more censorious than Twitter and Meta. That's what he's saying. We're going to protect you from harm, which is that's what every dictator says.
Marginalized people. That's the bulk of of everyone,
yes.
Dickhead. It's not like the Irish citizens of Ireland? What do you mean marginalized? That's not good. As soon as they throw that language out there.
To protect users. UpScrolled protects people on its platform from harms, but at the same time, it allows you to speak up about what the powerful are doing, what the government are doing, and what the things that other big tech platforms suppress.
I have a feeling that's not true.
Get ready for gender bullshit to be alive and well on here like it's blue sky. Get ready.
So yeah, I tweeted out, I'm glad you're allowing Israel criticism, but then applying your own politics to decide what speech is not acceptable and censoring that speech is the opposite side of the same authoritarian coin as TikTok. Hard to fathom you don't understand this. Why is it so hard for social media platforms to follow the First Amendment? Why is that?
Well, he's a stinking foreigner, so he don't respect it, much like Canada don't respect it. It's an American thing. So he's not interested in protecting your First Amendment rights. They don't like that around the world, especially a dickhead that talks like that. So, yeah, it's blue. So there you go. There you go.
So here's what people are saying about it on Twitter. Underneath his post, it's officially blue sky now. Sam Parker says, I've been on UpScrolled for 3 days now. Been great so far, but I don't need you or anyone else telling me what I can and can't say. The community will decide if they like what I have to say or not. Your censorship plans are a load of tosh. We're not going back. I don't know why he's got to bring in Daniel Tosh to this, but he did.
It's a big load of tosh. Well, why don't you just stop bots? How about this? You put don't worry about protecting me from ideas. Get all the fake actors and all the Malaysians pretending to be from here to say political shit. Get rid of all that shit that the other ones do, and I guarantee you it'll clear up the harm.
So they're busy trying to become the thing they're supposed to be in defiance of. They're only 6 months in. You hardly have your merch in place, and Autospell doesn't even know your name yet. And I think it's safe to assume, Kurt, that any social media platform is going to be compromised by the same ones who have grabbed up everything else. Do you seriously think that the establishment is not going to grab up everything? Of course they are. Every platform is owned by the establishment. And this one will be too. The establishment has all the religions. They have all the political parties. They have all the news outlets. Why? Because those are the shortcuts to having followers. That's why. They're the ones who created the phrase social influencers. So here's more people. This is just right underneath that guy's post. I installed the app 2 days ago, and I will uninstall it today. You're just another psyop pretending to support free speech, yet in your own words, you'll be censoring users. GFY, you phony. Go F yourself. Censorship. Way to blow up the app in less than a week, says Metropole K. You have pronouns in your bio? I don't think you realize how many people speak out on behalf of the Palestinian people that are not liberals. Many real conservatives are anti-genocide and condemn Zionism, but we will not be part of a platform where only liberal ideology is heard. Guys, please read the room. I want UpScrolled to succeed, but you're fumbling the PR. People are flooding to your platform to escape censorship. Don't lead with corporate talk about hate speech and disinformation. Obvious protections are in place. Just leave it at that. I'm with you. So, but here's what they should have called UpScrolled. They should have called it uninstalled.
You know he's lying, but you know he is, because he should know about the real problems. Are bots, Five Eyes intel agency spying on us. Remember the guy that got in trouble for not handing over, was it Telegram?
Yes.
So that's the real issue. Nothing with harm to marginalized people. Anybody using that phrase, please Omega yourself.
So unscrolled. So that, by the way, that guy's just a guy. So this guy is the founder of Tech for Palestine, who I guess is working on it. This guy's the inventor and I'm going to guess the CEO, founder of it. So this guy doesn't have as much power. And so I think when this video started to make the rounds, UpScrolled then put this out. They said, over 1 million of you have joined this week because you're sick of billionaires and government censoring our voices. We don't moderate viewpoints. We don't censor news. We don't pick sides. We're for everyone who wants real conversations without manipulation. That said, we can't be a zero moderation platform. What?
Okay, well, get the CP off of, like that X doesn't get off. I understand moderate. You can't have calls for violence and attacks. That's fine.
But that's already illegal, Kurt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So why are you saying that?
So if someone does that, that's already illegal. We already have district attorneys, state's attorneys. We have attorney general. We have police departments. We have sheriffs. We have all kinds of criminal justice apparatuses to take care of someone who's actually breaking the law on your platform and doing violence threats. We already have that. So anyway, I don't need some jagoff, some nerd from Techland to be my nanny and decide what. Anyway, so that said, we can't be zero moderation platform. We won't allow explicit calls for violence, and that's already illegal, for example. But we're not here to police or manipulate your opinions, views, or how you express yourself. No hidden algorithms, no secret suppression, no shadow agendas. That's what we're building. Bear with us as we iron out the detail. Well, that's not what the other guy said. The other guy said you're going to make it safe. The other guy said that Meta and TikTok and Twitter are not censoring enough, and that we're going to make it safe, and that we have a trusted safety board that we're really ramping up right now.
Yeah, maybe iron out that Irish intel mole that you let in your thing, because he's going to stab you in the back, brother. He already has by saying that stupid shit he said, which is really upsetting because I thought UpScrolled I'm such a sucker.
Me too.
I really thought UpScrolled, there's someone else everybody can go on. And it's not going to be like TikTok. No, of course, we're going to get the USAID Bono politics of Euro globalists. Thank you, Irish scumbag with your pronouns and your thing.
So this is the guy who's the founder. He said, just stating the obvious here, official statements about UpScrolled will only come through me or our official channels. We do not necessarily endorse or agree with others, friends or foes, and most certainly no one speaks on our behalf whatsoever. So I think that was him saying that this guy got out a little bit over his skis. I think that's what that was.
But he works for him. He's officially.
But he does, yeah. So I think that was trying to do some damage control.
Mm-hmm.
So Suppressed News says Zionists are crying because when they try to set their location on UpScrolled for Israel, it then shows Palestine, or it shows occupied Palestinian territories.
Mm-hmm.
So here it's showing you. It says Tel Aviv, and then it flips it to occupied territories of Palestine. Tel Aviv district, occupied territories. That's hilarious. Ben Gurion Airport, occupied territory of Palestine. So that's fun. That's fun. Now, yeah. Kurt, you wanted me to play this. I'll play it.
It's time to limit the First Amendment in order to protect it. And quickly before it's too late.
What do you mean?
I mean that we need to control the platforms, all the social platforms. We need to stack rank the authenticity of every person that expresses themselves online and take control over what they are saying based on that ranking.
The government
should.
So I played it. What did you want to say about that, Kurt?
Well, it sounds just like the Irish guy. We're going to keep harms and we're going to stop. We can't let it be unmoderated. We got to stop the First Amendment to protect the First Amendment. So I hope that guy, the Palestinian guy, I hope you're going to let that Irish intel mole straighten his ass out first. I hope you do that, buddy, because you're sunk. If that guy's agenda, that guy, And if that's what happens, where then they start doing the censorship again, and it's overtly boutique leftist identity politics censoring as it has been, then you know he works for this guy. Then you know they're doing they're the good cop, bad cop. And that's what all this stupid Zionist shit, the wokies, that's pushed by very rich corporations. So you'd welcome your conquerors when they said you don't have to pretend women have cocks anymore. You'd welcome your Zionist conquerors. That's what it was for. So you're not escaping if you don't get rid of that.
So it looks like UpScrolled should call themselves Shut Up Scrolled.
Yeah, really. I mean, honest to God, first of all, an accent telling me about what I can say is way out of line. That gets my American blood up, Jimmy. It rustles my jimmies.
So when they talk about moderating opinions, they talk about they just want moderate opinions. And we all want to believe them. But there's no getting out of this. We're in a matrix.
They'd kill it if it was independent. They would kill it. Let's face it. There was already, remember Parler had to go?
Yeah.
So no one's going to let you have an indie social media app.
So that's the problem also. So the big problem with this is that if they actually do give free speech, any social platform that gives free speech is going to get discontinued from the Apple app things, the App Store or the Google whatever, their apps place too. They won't be, if you're not censoring, you're not going to be allowed on those things. That's my guess. All right. Well, if you'd like to hear my jokes about this, come see me at February 20th in Lansing, Michigan, 21st in Milwaukee. And then we're going to be in Salt Lake City and Las Vegas in April. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Over to Steph.
Okay. How many more stories are you doing? Okay. How much
It's hot in
freer?
here. Can you turn on that fan or something?
Yep. How much freer can a society be than how freely information can be shared within that society? Vienticus.
That's closed.
SOP waiting for federal government to get us Medicare for all, tax the rich, ban stock, buybacks, and private equity, 55 million minimum wage, WCs and PBs, run them as CBI amendment in your state. Roger Meadows. Uh-oh, here comes a big one. Look at you being so generous. That's for Tiberius. What Peter Schiff was talking about, JP Morgan and B of A, 2/3 of our banking sector got holding papers options as assets instead of liabilities. The Chicago Merch Exchange raised margins on them 3 times. This is 2008 and 1929 scale. CBDC's next. Peter Schiff. Thank you, Tiberius. When are we coming back to Palm Springs? We're working on the tour now. Day 1, Chucky. Sig Sauer guns.
We were there last year, weren't we?
I thought so. Sig Sauer guns are notorious for misfiring. When they took the gun from Preddy, it misfired, and the agents thought he had another gun. I haven't read that, Corn Pop. AA community were attacked because of this funded pandemic. F you. Let's see. Oh, I read that one. Let's see here. Metabolic warfare. Stop talking smack about my bubble. All right, thank you. Back to Jimmy. Yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Okay. So Trump says Cuba will probably fall soon after his emergency executive order. Why do you? Well, let's listen to Trump first.
Cuba. I don't know. The word choke off is awfully tough. Cuba is a failing nation, and you have to feel badly for Cuba. They've treated people very badly. We have a lot of Cuban Americans who really were treated very badly, and they'd probably like to go back. And no, I'm not trying to, but it looks like it's something that's just not going to be able to survive. I think Cuba will not be able to survive.
What's your think about the UK getting involved with China?
Thank you for your note very much. Thank you.
As you were thinking about Fed share.
So I think the reporter asked him, are you trying to choke off Cuba? He says, choke off, that's a strong word, but it's a failing nation. You know why it's a failing nation? Because you keep sanctioning it. And now the president of the United States has put sanctions on any country that sells oil to Cuba, does business with Cuba. So they're trying to destroy the country. So if socialism and whatever they're doing doesn't work, why wouldn't you just let it fail? Well, okay.
They stole their country back from Jewish mobsters, as seen in Godfather 2, Part 2.
That's right. So here's the President of the United States signed a decree declaring a national emergency, citing the unusual and extraordinary threat that Cuba poses to the security of the United States and the rest of the region. And he also announced that he's going to impose tariffs on countries that sell or supply oil to Cuba. So it sounds like we're a threat to Cuba. Cuba's not a threat to us. This is just more imperialism. The same thing we did in Venezuela, the same thing we're doing in Cuba, the same thing we're going to do in Gaza, the same thing we're doing in Iran. This is just more imperialism.
Paul Singer, that's the billionaire behind Marco Rubio that wants Venezuela and Cuba to fall.
Yeah.
Paul Singer.
Paul Singer. So we're run by billionaire donors. And then there's another billionaire who wants all the rare earth minerals in Greenland. Why do you think Trump wants to go to Greenland? He wanted to go to Greenland in his first term. Same billionaire donor. We're run by billionaires. We're not run by MAGA ideology. Trump doesn't give a shit about MAGA ideology. Obviously, he doesn't. He hasn't done one thing except close the border. That's the only thing they're doing. Everything else, they're not. They're exploding the deficit. They're ramping up military spending. They're covering up the PDF file rings run by the intelligence community. They're funding genocide. They're bombing.
No mass deportations happened.
There's no mass deportations. They're bombing Iran. They're bombing Yemen. They're funding the war in Ukraine. They're putting DEI into colleges. They're putting hate speech laws into colleges. They're not doing anything they said they would do. Nothing. Because Donald Trump doesn't have an ideology. He has donors, and then he does what they want him to do. That's it. If you look behind him doing something, there's a donor.
Maybe he has one, but he's not in charge, so it don't matter what his ideology is.
Yeah,
He's not in charge of your government. Larry Ellison and Paul Singer and the good folks at the banking families, that's who runs your government.
So yeah, we're already in a handful of wars, but no reason to stop now. Now that we're on a winning streak, let's totally ignore our world history. Rome did great at spreading themselves thin, and went from owning a portion of the world to trying to find an American automotive market. Germany tried it, and they have healthy car sales, but are back to brutalizing the population in the streets. America came in with the trinkets and gun and has remained trinkets and guns ever since.
In fairness to Rome, they didn't let Israel push them around. When Israel got out of control, they destroyed their temple. Yep. They didn't try to build one to cause another war.
So Donald Trump signed an executive order declaring a national emergency and establishing a process to impose tariffs on goods from countries that sell or otherwise provide oil to Cuba, protecting you. By the way, this is illegal. That the United States is doing. You have to go through the UN if you want to do something like this. Of course, they're not. So they're breaking international law, just like when they did the same thing, sanctions on Iran that collapsed their economy in December.
Monroe Doctrine, Jimmy. Monroe Doctrine.
So this is 100% illegal. It goes against the UN Charter. It goes against international law, and it's bad for the U.S. dollar. Trump going around tariffing and sanctioning everybody is bad news. It makes people want to even faster get off of using the dollar as the reserve currency, and when that happens, our whole economy is going to collapse. The United States. That's not me saying that. That's like a fact. That's a truism. That's why we had the petrodollar, and now it's gone. And now that's why gold is worth so much right now, and the dollar keeps tanking. Okay. The order imposes a new tariff system that allows the United States to impose additional tariffs on imports from any kind. I'd already read that. The order authorizes the Secretary of State and Secretary of Commerce to take all necessary actions, including issuing rules and guidance to implement the tariff system. The president may modify the order if Cuba or affected countries take significant steps to address the threat. There's no threat by Cuba. That's the joke there. There's absolutely no threat. So countering Cuba's malign influence, this is what they call, the president is addressing the, what is it? What's that word? Depredations of the communist Cuba regime. Oh, that's what I wanted to ask Dave Smith. What he considers a communist. I forgot to ask him that.
Yeah. Or capital. I haven't seen any evidence of anybody getting to participate in any of these fabled systems. I've seen a lot of technocratic psychopaths controlling every single part of everything.
By taking decisive action to hold the Cuban regime accountable for its support of hostile actors, terrorism. So it's the same old thing. They're saying, oh, they're supporting terrorists. They're, the same thing they say about Iran. It's whenever they want to go into a country, that's what they do. They're oppressing their people and they're supporting terror. That's it.
We should check and see if there's any future presidents of Iran we might want to pick out from these terrorists, as we usually do, right?
Cuba provides safe haven for transnational terrorists. All right. The regime persecutes and tortures political opponents.
Shut up.
We're shooting people in the face in the streets of America in broad daylight. These actions constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat. So it's just, okay. I mean, at least they're trying to give a pretext of a reason that's not just, hey, we're stronger than you. No wonder Trump wants Cuba, because it sounds like everything they're doing is what we do.
Yeah.
They provide safe haven for transnational terrorists. Trump welcomed the head of Al Qaeda in Syria to the White House and took pictures with him.
Yeah, well, it's because he never attacked Israel, so maybe that's why.
Right. We now put the head of Al Qaeda as the head of Syria. So don't give me this. So yeah, exactly. Everything that they claim Cuba's doing is exactly what we're doing. Putting America first, President Trump has consistently confronted regimes that threaten the U.S. security and interests, delivering where others have failed to hold adversaries accountable. Such a tough guy. Trump absurdly labels Cuba a blockaded island an extraordinary threat. Trump's tariff threat to block oil imports is a clear escalation of Washington's 65-year regime change plan and an act of war. It increases collective punishment, hunger, and blackouts to force Cubans to surrender. So this is, again, collective punishment. You're trying to make people so desperate. You're trying to starve people. You're trying to deny people of health care, of electricity, basic necessities of life. That's what Trump's doing. We're the terrorists. Okay.
Well, they're going to do it to us, too. Don't forget, all the power's going to AI stations, so there won't be enough water or power for you.
Medea Benjamin says, calling Cuba an unusual and extraordinary threat to the United States is a cruel joke. Denying Cuba the right to import oil is a form of collective punishment, which is a violation of international humanitarian law. Yeah.
Is that the Monroe Doctrine? That's all I'm familiar with. I didn't know anything about law. I know the rules-based Monroe Doctrine.
Cuba is only a threat if you're a Dominican cigar maker. Okay. And if you want to hear my jokes about this, come see me February 20th in Lansing, Michigan, February 21st in Milwaukee, and then in April, we're going to be in Salt Lake City and Las Vegas. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Kurt, where are you going to be?
Oh, I'm go to kurtmastercomedy.com. Next week, I think I'm going to be in the Draft Ale House in Virginia, DC. And then after that, I got I'm going to New Orleans. kurtmastercomedy.com. 6th and 7th is when I'm going to be at the Ale House. And yeah, coming out. kurtmastercomedy.com.
Over to Steph. Hang on one second. I might have one more story.
All right, here we go. Vienticus, if you want to know how to destroy someone, you simply need to know what they've been protected against. Vienticus. As a door donor, I'd be highly concerned if Jimmy started supporting UpScrolled. Stinky McScriggles. I know. We are on UpScrolled. We started to do it, I think, 2 days ago. Looking for a better place to go. It turns out... 1 day later, we found out that disturbing information. Hey, Anonymous. Hold on. Got to move this. Bam. Check out Barrett Brown's audiobook, My Glorious Defeats, incredible story, and he's pretty funny. Worked to expose a ton of BS of the DOJ, FBI, and private intelligence have done to U.S. citizens. Could be an interesting guest. Anonymous, and that is Barrett Brown's audiobook, My Glorious Defeats. Interesting. God bless you, Jimmy, for talking about the scandemic. They tried to end us. Never forget. You speak for the millions of lives destroyed by it. Keep it up. Thank you, B Basket. Wow, dude. Thank you so much. Rubber Toe. Grazie. Are you aware of the new California State Project? Mel K had an interview and an event about it with its leader. Thank you for the heads up, Hart. Oh, hold on. Let's see what this one is. Greenland ice sheets holds 8 to 10% of the Earth's fresh water. Gold's 5,000 an ounce, and what's water's value when it runs dry in certain areas worth? That and putting data centers there. Nathan, thank you, Nathan. Is it just me, or is the United States just invading countries that are not controlled by Israel? All right, continuing. Paul Bigger is making UpScrolled sound as if it is just another extension of the dialectic, just another trap to close you in. Thanks, but no thanks, Nathan. Viaticus, you know how that one dating app had the slogan, the app to be deleted or something like that? UpScrolled just adopted that slogan. Mountain Unit. Hey, Viaticus, thank you. Important note on Dan Petty to consider. He had SIG pistol fires accidentally often. There was accidental discharge of his gun by ICE officers as he walks away with a gun shooting agents. Then bystanders footage shows this, Carl. And when foreign nations are allowed to infiltrate churches, people still want to make excuses. You know we're in trouble. God bless everybody. Happy Friday. Bays. Thank you, Bays. The solution, ban Zionism. Easy. Savage. Perhaps if an American wants to maintain their First Amendment rights, they should develop platforms themselves. Rorschach. Is it just me? Oh, I read that. Just chilling. Is it me or just the United States just invading countries that are not controlled by Israel? Jimmy, I saw Jimmy Dore account and Jimmy Dore show account on UpScrolled. Are either of those real or are they fake?
That's real.
They're real. They're real. All right, my last two that I have, and this is for Tiberius. China has halted silver exports exactly 1 year after hacking the U.S. Treasury, where they were fined access to J.P. Morgan and Bank of America's balance sheets. They knew exactly where to hit us. Wow, Tiberius. Le Grand Soir. Cuba, the unforgivable revolution, 60 years of sanctions and extraterritorial measures, cruel and unusual punishment, just another crime against humanity in slow motion. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back to Jimmy.
Back to me?
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to show you this to show you how if you need a better reason to hate corporate media, I can't find one. Here it is right here. And if you want a reason to remind yourself why you watch shows like this instead of CNN or MSNBC or Fox or anything else, exclusive. This is from CNN. UN planning CIA foothold in post-Maduro Venezuela. Okay. By the way, that was always the plan. And I think that plan was kicked off a long time ago. So for years, I just gonna get this. I don't know if you saw this yet, Kurt, but they're gonna contradict themselves from this paragraph to this paragraph, completely 180 degree. This paragraph is going to debunk this paragraph in the CNN article. So CNN first has to do propaganda for the military-industrial complex and the establishment and the economic hitmen in the United States. Why? Because the economic hitmen in the United States own CNN. That's why. So for years, Maduro cast the CIA as a convenient boogeyman, repeatedly accusing the agency without evidence.
Oh no!
Of attempting.
Don't smear the agency.
They've claimed, without evidence, that CIA is attempting to topple Maduro's regime as he clung to power despite U.S. opposition. So for years, Maduro cast the CIA as a convenient boogeyman without evidence, saying they're trying to overthrow him. Here's the next paragraph. Now the CIA has helped supplant Maduro. So that thing that you said that he was asserting without evidence happened. Do you want to go back and correct your paragraph?
No.
You want to go back and go, oh, by the way, for years Maduro cast the CIA as a boogeyman because of the evidence he saw that they were trying to overthrow him. And turns out, son of a gun, they did.
Yeah. Well, this is why I think the CIA had him there the whole time, because it made Venezuela suck and they want to make it right, regime change. And they ran, remember, the president of Greece was CIA for a time.
But let's keep our focus on this CNN. Now the CIA has helped supplant Maduro and is poised to help actively manage the Trump administration's dealing with Venezuela's new leadership.
Oh, you want good people there for that, so that's good. You're gonna want
you gotta be kidding me. So they first do the pro-war propaganda and then they immediately undermine it, and the guy who wrote it didn't catch it. Who wrote this?
Two or three, yeah, of
three
course.
people: Zachary Cohen, Jennifer Hansler, and Kylie Atwood. Took three people to write this crap. And they had an editor on top of it. So, yeah, I don't know how. Are they being paid directly by the CIA? Or is their editor being paid directly by the CIA? Or is it just the CIA, just in general?
Whatever happened to one reporter doing a story and shit, and now it's all these people from think tanks and scumbag they should put paid advertisement around this article like they have to do for other things.
They should. This has been paid for by the military-industrial complex. This is... That I kind of can't get over that. That's kind of hard to get over. And then this was even earlier in the article. It said CIA officers were on the ground in Venezuela in the months leading up to the operation targeting Maduro. Well, then how could you write this paragraph after that? Maduro cast CIA as a convenient boogeyman without evidence, accusing them of attempting to topple his regime. And this was in their own article. They were on the ground in Venezuela months before. In August, the agency had covertly installed a small team inside the country to track Maduro's patterns, locations, and movements, which helped bolster the operation earlier this month. How could that's just... This said, I don't... So here is Alan McLeod. He tweeted out this. He said, the U.S. government has been trying to overthrow Maduro for years. Multiple books from cabinet members have confirmed that the CIA was carrying out terror operations in Venezuela during Trump's first term. And John Bolton's book all but confesses that the U.S. government was behind the 2018 assassination attempt against Maduro. In 2020, a CIA agent was caught outside Venezuela's largest oil refinery carrying explosives. You probably haven't heard about this because it was completely ignored in the Western press. That's why. They don't report on this stuff. And that's why the people in America, I read, like Bill Barr, I read the newspaper. I read 3 papers every day. I know what's going on. You're reading this. You're reading propaganda directly from the establishment, from the military-industrial complex, from the CIA. People go, I'm informed. I watch the news every day. I read 3 newspapers. Oh, what else? Let me guess. You read the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Boston Globe. Right? Am I right? Each one of those are liars. Complete propaganda rags. Oh, I'm informed. I read Bill Maher still says that. I read the papers. I know what's going on. And you don't. He tried to tell that to Bill Burr. You don't know what's going on. I do. I read the papers.
I bet she doesn't.
And I bet he doesn't read the papers. So just to let you know, the guy who was in charge of Pakistan, they put him in jail, just like they did to Maduro. It says Imran Khan was sentenced to 10 years for exposing the U.S.-backed regime change, overthrowing his elected government. To this day, the CIA, NED, USAID trained and funded media outlets mock Imran Khan for being paranoid, for being a paranoid liar, claiming they overthrew his elected government. What?
But we know they did.
Documents U.S. pressure to remove Imran Khan. All will be forgiven, said U.S. diplomat. It's no coincidence the vote against Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan succeeds.
Oh, the no confidence vote. So if he goes away, they'll forgive him, and he doesn't say it anymore. Is that what that's supposed to mean?
Yes, that's it. There's another one. Pakistan court jails ex-Prime Minister Imran Khan for 10 years ahead of election. So this is just the way they do things. There was some article that mentioned the CIA for someone had difficult intercepting Julian Assange's communications because he was paranoid.
Yeah.
You mean the guy they jailed for 10 years? Yeah, he was paranoid. So anyway, there you go. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final and most essential command. And if all others accepted the lie which the party imposed, if all records told the same tale, then the lie passed into history and became truth.
Oh, that's the story of America.
That's the story of America. That's the story of all our foreign interventions. Because if the corporate media doesn't correct it, well, then it goes down as the truth.
They better not correct it or they'll be replaced.
That's right. So,
a convenient boogeyman. Oh, it's so convenient to blame the people who are always responsible.
Anyway, it's horrible.
This is like, I get this on Twitter. It's all fake. They're all fake accounts, but they're like, oh, the Zionists are under my, because I don't say Jew, I say Zionist. I'm not against Jews.
Right.
But if I say Zionist, just like this CIA shit, they go, oh, like you're being paranoid to think there might be an issue with Zionism. Oh, I must just be crazy. Of course, there's not a problem. I can't write the word Epstein on TikTok. Of course, there's nothing going on. Well, it must be me.
Okay, I guess that's it for today.
All right, cool.
And we'll see everybody go to KurtMetzgerComedy.com and gets his dates. He'll be in Arlington. And we're going to be in Michigan and Milwaukee. Oh, I got to do this, right? Okay.
Later,
all right,
guys.
see you, Kurt.
Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. China also halted silver exports exactly 1 year after hacking the U.S. Treasury. Oh, I read that one. That was from Tiberius. Cuba, the unforgivable revolution. I read that one, too, from Le Grand Soir. All right, next one we have. Trump has finally realized just how sick and compromised America is and is burning it down from the inside. This is his crisis of faith, Rorschach. Some dude, have you covered Trump's new structure bill moving the USD into a crypto-based CBDC announced in December? Decentralized social app Nostr is the way to go. Works like Bitcoin.
Okay, ready?
Moniker. All right, back to Jim.
So Bill Maher wants to give the Nobel Prize to Donald Trump because he doesn't know anything about anything. But who do you think? Kalshi has a thing, who is a sponsor on the show. Kalshi has a thing. You can go over there and make a trade. It's not a bet. It's a trade. Who will win the Nobel Peace Prize? So some people, Donald Trump's at 11%. Doctors Without Borders is at 15%. And the Sudan's, what is it called? The Sudan's Emergency Responses. Wow. They're up to 20%. Wow, look at that. I might go make a trade on that. There you go. Okay. Back over to Steph.
Okay, here's my last one today, ladies and gentlemen. $1 Million Trooper. Not to suck too much corporate dick, but as long as you get Sig Sauers with traditional safeties, they are fine. Sig hasn't mastered the complex trigger safeties like Glock makes yet. Buyer beware. That's it for this week, ladies and gentlemen. Resist much, obey later. What? Are we good? Oh, okay. Don't turn the camera off, Andrew. We have to do an outro. Resist much, obey little. See you Monday. And now, Jimmy.
Hey, come see us on tour. We'll be in Lansing. Ready? Come see us on stand-up tour. We'll be in Lansing, Michigan, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Salt Lake City, and Las Vegas. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
That's it.